Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something that's like the secret engine for almost every company on the planet. It's called procurement, and it's the hidden strategy behind how all the products we love and use every single day actually come to life.
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? You've got the screen from one country, a microchip from another, the battery from who knows where, and it all has to come together perfectly. How on earth does a company pull that off?
Well, the answer is way more interesting than just, going shopping for components. It's the super complex, high-stakes game. And the key to understanding it all is knowing the difference between simple purchasing and this much bigger idea of strategic procurement.
Okay, so here's the main difference. Purchasing is just the act. It's totally transactional. You place an order, you get the stuff, you pay the bill. Simple. But procurement? Whoa, that's the strategy. It's the entire end-to-end process. Everything that happens before, during, and long after that purchase. We're talking market analysis, checking out suppliers, and building actual relationships.
In fact, a really great procurement team has 5 key strategic functions. You can honestly think of them as their superpowers, the things that turn a company from just a buyer into a really smart strategic operator.
First up, cost management. And listen, this is about so much more than just finding the cheapest price. Smart procurement is all about the bigger picture, something called the total cost of ownership.
So, they're not just haggling over the price of a single screw, right? They're negotiating these huge, long-term contracts. They're digging through all the company's spending to find hidden savings. And they're finding solutions that, might cost a little more today, but are going to save a fortune down the line.
And this example just nails it. Instead of buying coffee beans at whatever the price is that day, the procurement team uses its massive buying power to lock in a huge discount for years to come. Now that is strategic savings.
All right, superpower number 2, and this one is huge: supplier relationship management. This is all about changing the game from a simple, here's your money, thanks for the stuff transaction, to a powerful collaborative partnership.
See, a company's suppliers aren't just vendors, they are absolutely vital partners. And it's procurement's job to make sure those partnerships are rock solid. They're tracking performance, they're keeping the lines of communication wide open, and they're even brainstorming new ideas together.
Just think about that for a second. The car company and its chip supplier sitting in the same room, solving problems together before those problems can shut down a whole factory. That's not just a customer-vendor thing, that's a strategic alliance, and it's all managed by the procurement team.
Okay, on to number 3, and this one is completely non-negotiable: quality control. Because at the end of the day, your finished product can only be as good as the stuff you start with. It's that simple.
Procurement acts as the gatekeeper of quality. They don't just cross their fingers and hope for the best. No way. They set incredibly specific quality standards, they go out and audit their suppliers to make sure they're actually meeting them, and then they write all of it into legally binding contracts.
Oh, I love this example. The company isn't just buying cacao beans. They're buying beans that have to hit a very specific, measurable quality score. If a batch of beans comes in and doesn't hit that number, it gets rejected, period. That's procurement making sure the promise of quality starts at the very beginning.
Function number 4 is something I think we've all become very familiar with lately: risk management. Modern supply chains can be surprisingly fragile, and procurement is the first line of defense when things go wrong.
These teams are constantly scanning the horizon for trouble. Asking questions like, is our key supplier about to go out of business? Or is there a hurricane or a political issue brewing where we get our parts? They build backup plans, and this is so important. They diversify their suppliers so they're never putting all their eggs in one basket.
And look, we're back to our smartphone. This is a perfect real-world example. By getting that critical screen from 2 different suppliers in 2 different countries, they make sure that a factory shutdown or a shipping crisis or a flood in one part of the world won't bring their entire production to a grinding halt. That is seriously smart risk management. And finally, our 5th superpower, which has become incredibly important these days: using procurement to promote sustainability and ethics. A company's spending is one of its most powerful tools for actually making a positive difference.
The procurement team is basically responsible for making sure a company's actions line up with its values. This is where the money does the talking. They vet suppliers for everything from their environmental impact to fair labor practices, making sure the entire supply chain is one the company can actually be proud of.
So next time you see a tag that says organic cotton or ethically made, you know how that promise is actually enforced. It's the clothing brand's procurement team that makes those certifications a non-negotiable requirement of doing business. They are literally using their buying power to drive real change.
So to kind of put it all together, where does procurement fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, it's a super critical job within the much bigger field of supply chain management, or SCM. SCM is the whole shebang, logistics, manufacturing, all of it. Procurement is the strategic player on that team that manages all the relationships with outside suppliers.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. When it's done right, procurement isn't just a cost center on a spreadsheet. It is a source of immense strategic advantage. It saves money, it builds resilience, it guarantees quality, it dodges risk, and it upholds a company's values. It's that hidden engine just making everything run better.
Which leaves me with one last question for you. Just look around you right now, at your laptop, your cup of coffee, maybe your shoes. What's the one thing you own that you think has the most complex, most fascinating supply chain behind it? Because that's the power of procurement, happening all around us, all the time. Thanks for diving in with me on this.